Hi everyone, welcome to our next Learning to Moodle video where we're going to take a look at the discussion forum and the different types of discussion forums that are available within Moodle, as well as the other common settings associated with them. So before we get too far into the settings, the very first thing that you're going to notice when you create a new forum is that it asks you what kind of forum do you want this to be. So I'm just going to create a sample forum. The description in just about every case is where I put the instructions for how do I want you to complete this assignment, how many times you have to post, all of those types of things. But the first question is, what kind of forum do you want? And this is really an important one to think about what your objectives or what your goals are for this discussion. I'm going to show you the example of the most commonly used ones here, which are the single simple discussion, the question and answer forum, the standard forum in a blog-like format, and the standard forum for general use. Each person posts one discussion is very similar to the standard forum. It just allows each person, you get to create one topic and everyone gets to reply to that. So it's going to be very similar to the other ones. I don't see it used as often, but let's take a look at a couple of these and so that you understand a few of the key differences. The most common one that I see used is just the standard discussion forum. When I go into a standard discussion forum, you're going to notice that here was the description that was written. When a person creates a post, a lot of people talk about this initial post idea. Here is their initial post. People make the post, and then when you want to go in and reply to those, you can go in, read the post, hit reply, and kind of go from there. You'll notice that I can go over to initial post 2 as well and see the next one. Here's the initial post. Here's some students that have replied. The one thing I don't necessarily like about the standard form is that it hides everything behind these initial posts and doesn't kind of give me anything. All I see is the title that the first person created that post. It's also very possible, depending on the question or the topic that they're supposed to post on, that if you're using one topic that everyone else is discussing, a lot of these initial posts become very similar. I think a standard forum is really good if you want to provide something like, I want you to post your reflection or your thoughts about something, but not necessarily need to reply to everything. The problem is that people that do initial posts early tend to get a lot of replies, other people don't. The other type of forum, the one that I use quite often, has some drawbacks as well. It is called the simple discussion forum. Here, whenever you jump in, it's just like one discussion topic. And so everyone is in the same forum, and as they reply to the posts, you'll notice that at least the way I have it displayed right now in nested form, it kind of indents it, and then you can see a reply to the reply. Here, somebody replied to the initial post again. So for example, if I just reply to this and say, great post, it's going to, in simple nested form, it's going to realize that, okay, you're replying to the initial topic, it's going way down here. If someone replied to this post, it's going to nest it inside of that post. Now, I really like it in smaller groups, or if you have your group or your class separated into discussion groups, because it keeps everybody in the same conversation. However, if your group gets too large, this becomes a very, very big discussion forum, and it can be hard for people to see and find new things. The nice thing about it is there are a couple of view options for it. You can display this with the newest ones first. However, it does not really indicate what that was a reply to. It's just these were the most recent replies. Other things to do is to show this thing in threaded form, because then you can go through and see by date, oh, I want to see this one, and kind of look at the different replies. But me personally, I usually keep it in nested form, but again, the con or the drawback is that it gets pretty messy with a lot of people in it. One that I've been using a lot more lately is the standard forum in a blog-like format. It's very similar to the standard discussion forum, but in a blog-like format, it kind of gives you a preview of the first, I don't know how many characters for each of the posts. So you can see here was a topic that was posted, here was a second one, and I can see a little bit of information. Again, I do see that there is replies in both of these, but if I want to go in and discuss that topic, I click that. Now I can see, just like the other one, here's that discussion topic. So I think you're going to realize that the standard forum and the blog-like forum are great if you can either assign individuals to topics. I think they get to be a little bit overwhelming when you have everyone feel like they need to start the topic or start the discussion. In a large class of maybe 15 to 20 people, it might be a good idea to assign 5 people, let's say, each week. You are responsible for making an initial post on a unique topic or on some area, and those 5 people can coordinate what kind of viewpoint they want to take and post, or what topic they want to cover from the chapter or from whatever the content is. It's kind of a mess if it becomes the same initial post for each one. So the final one I want to show you is the question and answer discussion forum. And this one is a little tricky if you are using it every time you have a new class. The question and answer discussion forum, when you create it, it does not have any questions asked. So I'll actually create one here in just a second. In this one, I've actually posted a question. The reason they call it a Q&A forum is that this question is posted. When a student goes in, they're going to see just the question. They will not see any responses to it until they have written their own response. So it's a really great way of kind of saying, here's a single question I want you all to think about. Once you post the answer to that question, then you can read what everyone else said. So a lot of people use it for that, or if they are actually just going to ask, a series of, 3 or 4 questions. But again, the downside is when you create this, I'll go back and create a question and answer form. So here's a sample Q&A forum. I'll set it as a sample question A, and here is the directions for completing. All right, and I will save and display that. This is what a student's going to see when they go in there. It's going to say, though, that there are no questions yet. So that first post is not your question. A lot of times I write my question there, and I actually have to come in here and say, post your response here. Or in this case, a lot of cases I would say, that's the place where the directions or the actual question is supposed to be. Now a student would have access to that and would actually be able to respond. So that's kind of tricky, because when you copy your course over from one semester to the next, the question from a question and answer form disappears. So it's kind of annoying. You really have to set those up every single time. Otherwise, let's go into the settings for any one of these. And remember, when you create a discussion, when you create an assignment, going back to the edit settings for any one of those things is going to take you to the same screen that you had when you first created it. So I'm going to talk about some of these other settings that are down here. I personally like to allow students to attach things. In some cases, if I want someone to turn in an assignment and actually have whatever they turn in be publicly available to everyone else, I assign it to be turned in a forum. The downside to that is that you can't give feedback only to that person in the forum. What if you reply to their forum post, everybody gets to see it. So I do like to allow attachments. I don't normally worry about word count. I usually tell people that my conditions for posts is that they have to further the conversation. They have to ask a question. They have to provide a new viewpoint. They have to challenge something that's been stated. Subscription and tracking, you can make this forced subscription. The example is in all courses, there's something called a news forum that every student is forcefully subscribed to, meaning when you make a post in that forum, every student will get a notification via their WLC email. Whether or not you want to have the posts hidden, that you can leave optional, or you can turn it off completely. Not sure why you would. I always leave those optional. In fact, I never really mess with that. Post threshold, you can have whether or not students are blocked from posting. This can be, I guess, useful if you had a really large group. I never use post threshold for blocking. The ratings I do use, this is the grade. I use them quite often. I tend to use a sum of ratings. So in my classes, I usually award 3 points per post. And if you do all of the posts within the allotted time or according to the rules, you'll get a final point for a total of 10. Other people have different ways of doing it. I use a sum of ratings, and so I typically have a sum of ratings up to 10 points. And then you'll see when I go back to this form that there's going to be a place to rate all of the responses there from the students. Actually, since I think the instructor posted all these, it won't give me a rating. The common things, again, you can show, you can restrict access, you can have it marked as completing. I normally don't do that. There is, under ratings, a restrict ratings to items within this range. I've not used it. I can imagine some people would use it if they are going to say, this helps me make sure that I'm only grading things that were done on time. I can go back and manually enter a grade or say, maybe say that, yeah, I'll give you a C or, start you a C, those types of things. I normally don't use it. But let's save and display this so that you can see what I'm talking about. Here now is an initial post. When I jump in here, for a student, this would be a drop-down menu with a 0 to 10, so I could rate each post. Also helps me kind of keep track with the sum of ratings which posts that I've done. But because this was posted by an instructor, the sum of ratings, you don't grade the instructors. But those are the main settings for a discussion forum. And like I said, I think the most common ones, the question and answer forum or the discussion forum that's in a standard form, are the ones I see most people use. I use a lot of the simple discussion forums. When we talk about groups, you could see how you could still manage that even with larger classes by having groups that will discuss using either invisible or visible groups where they can see and only discuss on with their assigned group within an actual assignment.